Power, wealth, glory. King Darien had it all. Feared by his enemies, worshipped by his people, he believed he was unstoppable. But pride is a dangerous thing. One day fate turned against him, betrayed, humiliated, exiled. He lost everything in a single night. Now, stripped of his throne, abandoned by his own people, he must face the harshest truth of all. Was he ever truly a king, or just a man blinded by his own arrogance? This is a story of loss, pain, and redemption. A story that proves a true king is not one who rules, but one who serves. The grand palace of Solara shines under the golden sun. King Darien sits on his jewel-encrusted throne, surrounded by nobles. In front of him, a poor farmer kneels, trembling. Farmer, pleading, "Your Majesty, our fields are barren, our children starve. Please help us." Darien's eyes remain cold. King Darien, disinterested. "A man who cannot provide for his own family is not worth my mercy." The court falls silent. Even his closest advisors shift uncomfortably, but no one dares to speak. The farmer's eyes fill with despair. He bows and leaves, his hands empty, his heart shattered. As the heavy palace doors close behind him, the winds outside howl louder than ever before, a whisper of the storm to come. That night, a hooded oracle enters the palace, her presence like a shadow in the candlelight. Oracle, softly, "King Darien, your throne is built on fear, not love. You rule with an iron fist, but soon you will have nothing to hold on to." Darien smirks. "King Darien, fate bends to my will, not the other way around." The oracle shakes her head. Oracle, a king who ignores his people will one day hear their voices, not in whispers, but in war cries. With those chilling words, she vanishes, leaving Darien with a sense of unease he cannot shake. Days later, unrest spreads across the kingdom. Villages burn, people riot, and behind it all is Lord Varen, a noble who once bowed before Darien, but now seeks to overthrow him. The palace gates crash open. The very people who once cheered his name now spit on the ground at the sight of him. Rebel, shouting, "You ignored our cries, now hear our fury!" Darien fights like a lion, but his own guards betray him, dragging him through the streets. King Darien, shouting, "I am your king," rebel leader, coldly, "Not anymore." With that, the crown is torn from his head, and the mighty King Darien is exiled. Once feared, now forgotten. Darien wanders through the same streets where people once bowed to him. Now, they turn away in disgust. He reaches for food at the market, only to be shoved aside like a beggar, merchant, mocking. No gold, no bread. Even a king must pay. His stomach growls, his hands tremble. The weight of his own helplessness crushes him. For the first time in his life, he knows what it feels like to be powerless. On a freezing night, as he curls up near a temple, a blind old man sits beside him. Without a word, the old man breaks his bread in half and shares it with Darien. Blind man, softly, "Hard times make men humble. Tell me, traveler, who were you before life brought you here?" Darien hesitates. Darien whispers, "I was a king." The old man chuckles. Blind man, "Then perhaps this is the first time you have truly lived." Darien doesn't understand, not yet, but something in his cold, empty heart begins to thaw. Darien follows the old man to a humble village where people work together, not out of fear, but out of love and duty. For the first time, Darien must work for his survival. He learns to farm, his hands blister, he carries water, his muscles ache. He helps rebuild homes, his back burns. Villager, smiling, "You're stronger than you look, stranger." Darien doesn't reply. He is too exhausted, but as he collapses into sleep, he feels something strange. For the first time in years, his heart feels light. One night, bandits attack the village, stealing food, harming the weak. Darien grabs a wooden staff and fights like a warrior, but this time, he does not fight for a throne. He fights for the people who once saved him. The bandits flee, and the village cheers. A young boy looks up at him with wide eyes. Boy, whispering, "You led us like a true king." Tears sting Darien's eyes. For the first time, he understands. A king is not the one who commands. A king is the one who protects. Rumors spread. The kingdom suffers under Lord Varen's rule. The people, broken, starving, desperate, speak of a lost king who fights for the weak. They do not beg him to return. They choose him. And so, Darien marches toward the kingdom not with an army, but with a family. A family of farmers, blacksmiths, and villagers, who would rather follow a beggar king than bow to a tyrant. The palace gates open once more, but this time Darien does not enter alone. Thousands stand behind him, not as soldiers, but as people who believe in him. Lord Varen flees before a single sword is drawn. Darien steps toward the throne, but instead of sitting, he turns to his people. Darien, firmly, a throne does not make a king, the people do, and the people roar in agreement. Years later, Darien returns to the old blind man. Darien, smiling, "You once told me losing everything can be the greatest gift." The old man chuckles. Blind man, "And now, you wear a crown, not of gold, but of wisdom." Darien smiles, walking into the sunset, not as a ruler, but as a king who has truly learned to serve. Moral: a true leader is not one who demands loyalty, but one who earns it.